Hi everybody, the purpose of this video is to go through some of the Hawks practice stuff in section 3.4 just to give you an idea of how to solve the problems and also how to express them properly in Hawks. So here we go. Notice here that I have lesson 3.4 up. It's called Solving Linear Inequalities. Notice that if you wanted to learn, if you needed some help, you can go through the learn phase. It has a whole bunch of things for you that will help. And of course, right here is to practice, which is what I'm going to be doing, the idea here is you want to practice a bit time before you actually attempt to do your problems. You actually complete the assignment by doing certify. And what happens is if you start and if you manage to complete get 3/4 of your problems correct, you're done. If not, then you got to do it again. I'm going to go ahead and start off with practice. Here we go. Now in practice, we will have 7 problems. Each one of them will have 2 to 3 parts. And here is problem 1. Here we want to consider the following inequality. 2x is less than or equal to 18. And we have 2 parts. The first part is to solve the linear inequality for the given variable and express the answer in algebraic notation. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Over here, I have my OneNote, which I'm kind of using as my little workspace. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write down the inequality. It is 2x is less than or equal to 18. Now notice there's nothing to simplify. There are no terms to move around because the terms with the x's over here. The only thing we need to do is get rid of the coefficient, and that requires multiplication. So I'm going to divide this side by 2 because I want a coefficient of 1. Well, if I'm dividing this side by 2, I need to divide the other side by 2 as well. That way we have an equivalent inequality. Okay, now 2 divided by 2, that's just 1, so we're just left with x. 18 divided by 2 is 9. Since we divided by a positive number, the direction of the inequality does not change. And there we go. And this is algebraic notation. And this is what we want to put in right here. And how do we do that? Well, the first thing that you might want to do, well, it's not that, is to hit keypad. Okay? And then once we have our keypad, let me move the keypad over out of the way a little bit. Right there is good. I can come over here, click my answer, and I'm going to put in x. Just type x. This right here is less than or equal to, and then 9. All right, submit my answer, and lo and behold, I was correct. Okay, so I can move on to next. Okay, now I want to actually graph the given inequality. Now, if you forgot what your answer was, you could always just click on that part, and there it is. X is less than or equal to 9. All right, now notice here that if I was going to graph that, it would be all the numbers less than or equal to 9, so this is 9. I'm going to start here. I'm going to go all the way down to negative infinity, okay? Now notice that I can never ever have a bracket next to negative infinity. I can only have a parenthesis, okay? And over here, since I have a non-strict inequality next to the 9, this will be a bracket. Now the reason why I'm telling you that is because you want to click one of these buttons that has a parenthesis on the left-hand side and a bracket on the right-hand side. Read this button right here. You want to click on that. Okay, cool. Once you've done that, you need to move this side to 9. Right there. That would be 9. Notice how it kind of tells you what the number is. But then you need to move this to the negative infinity. Right now it's at negative 10. To get it to negative infinity, you need to move it all the way down to there. Once you get it there, you're at negative infinity. Okay? And that's what your graph should look like. Submit your answer. And there you go. That's how it's done. Okay, let's move on to the next one. This one's a little more complicated. Here we have the inequality 2z minus 2 is strictly greater than negative 9. Okay, once again, we need to simplify. We need to solve for this, simplify our answer, and express it in, once again, algebraic notation. So let's go ahead and do that. What are we going to do first? Well, the first thing we can do is just write the sucker down. 2z minus 2 is greater than negative 9. All right, nothing to simplify. The only thing we need to do is do a little addition. Use the addition property to move that -2 term over here. And how do we do that? Well, we're going to add 2 over here, and we're going to add 2 on the other side. If we do, we can then add vertically 2z plus 0, well, that's just 2z. Okay, these will cancel. And I will still have my inequality. -9 plus 2, that's just -7. Okay, and now we want to multiply, or specifically divide both sides by -2. So I'm going to divide this side by, not -2, +2, this side by 2, this side by 2. These will cancel. I have z is greater than -7 divided by 2. Okay, now this is indeed simplified. If you wanted to, you could probably also write this as z is greater than -3.5. I'm not too sure if Hawks will like that. Let's go ahead and find out. Click on this. So here we have, type in z. Now you can use the keypad and use this greater than sign. Of course, you can also use the greater than sign above the period. I'm going to go ahead and use this one. Okay, and then I'm going to do negative 3.5. Let's see if it likes that. And actually it does. Okay, also -7/2 would work just fine as well. Okay, so we can go to next. Now we need to graph that. Now notice that we are going to start at -3.5, wherever that is. Let's assume that's right here. And we're going to go all the way up to infinity because everything is greater than -3.5. Okay, since we're going all the way up to infinity, we would have a parenthesis there. And since we have a non-strict inequality, we will have a parenthesis there. So I have a parenthesis here and a parenthesis there. And that is what we're looking for down here. And if you click right there, that gives you the two things. Now, this is going to go all the way up to infinity, correct? So this will go to here. Actually, make sure that is correct. It is. Okay, cool. And then this is going to go start at 3.5, which is also -7/2. All right, there we go, from -7/2 to 3.5. Submit my answer, and lo and behold, I did it correctly. Okay, now here is a non-strict inequality, but this time we want the solution in interval notation. So let's work on this one and see how this comes out. So we have 3x plus 3 is greater than or equal to -12. 3x plus 3 is greater than or equal to -12. Okay. Well, the very first thing we want to do is we want to get this term over here because we want the terms of the x by itself. So I am going to subtract 3 from both sides. When I do, these cancel. I have 3x is greater than or equal to -15. All right, now I want to divide both sides divide this by 3 to get rid of the coefficient. Of course, I had to do the exact same thing over here. And once I do that, these cancel. I will have x is greater than or equal to -5. That is algebraic notation. In interval notation, that is going to be the open interval. No, not the open interval. My bad. I screwed up. Notice here I have a non-strict inequality. That is going to be the closed interval of all numbers greater than -5. So I'm going to so the smallest number is -5. Okay, and that's going to go all the way up to infinity. But notice that since we're dealing with an infinity, it cannot have a bracket. It has to have a parenthesis. So your answer should look like this. So how would you do that? Well, first you're going to click on your keypad here, or click on this, then come to your keypad, and notice that we have a bracket on the left-hand side and a parenthesis on the right-hand side, which is exactly what we have here. That's what we want. Click on that. Then type in -5, comma, and then use this symbol down here for infinity. Okay, once you've done that, then this part is a complete piece of cake where we actually have to graph it. Notice that since we have a bracket here and a parenthesis there, we want to click on the exact same thing. Okay, this side is going to go to infinity, and then this will go to -5. So just grab right here, move it to -5. You see, and it says -5 somewhere. There it is. You're done. And then click Submit Answer. And once again, I am correct, shocking as it might be. Okay, let me just do a couple more for you. I was going to skip that one, but I feel kind of a wuss if I did. So, okay, we'll go ahead and do this one too. So we'll do this, and then we'll do compound inequality one, and that should be enough to get you guys going. Okay, so here we have 3z minus 3.6 is greater than or equal to 55.6 minus 5z. Okay, there's nothing to simplify on either side. There's no like terms to simplify, but we need to start off with a little addition. Okay, and we want to do this in such a way that the coefficient is positive. So we don't want to move the 3z over here to get a -8z. We'd rather move the 5z over here to get a positive 8z. So I'm going to add 5z to both sides. Okay, so now we'll bring all the z terms over here. If I'm bringing all the z terms over here, I want the constant terms over here. So I'm going to add the inverse of 3.6, or negative. I'm going to add 3.6 here, and I'm going to add 3.6 here. Okay, doing the addition vertically, these will cancel, these will cancel. I will have 8z. And over here, I will have 59.2, greater than or equal to 59.2. Now, to get rid of the coefficient, I want to divide both sides by 8. So I'm going to be using the multiplication principle of equality. I'm going to divide this side by 8. I forgot the line by the z. And divide this side by 8. And after doing that, these will cancel. I'm left with z. That's what I'm looking for. This does not need to switch. And over here, I will have 7.4. Okay, and that is my answer in algebraic notation. Z is greater than or equal to 7.4. What will that look like in interval notation? Well, notice that we're going to start from 7.4 and go all the way up to infinity. That means my smallest number is going to be 7.4. My largest number is going to be infinity. I can never reach infinity, so I'm going to have a parenthesis there. I have a non-strict inequality by 7.4. That stands for a bracket right there. Okay? And putting that into Hawks, click on this. I want to click on the symbol that has a bracket on the left-hand side, a parenthesis on the right-hand side. There it is. And then I will type in 7.4, comma, and then infinity. There you go. Okay, and then now we need to graph that. Well, let's take a look at our previous answer. There it is. Okay, so we want to use the bracket parenthesis combination that's just like this. Bracket on the left-hand side, parenthesis on the right-hand side. That's that one right there. I want this to go all the way to infinity. So just grab the arrow, drag it to infinity. And then I want this to go to 7.4. So there's 0, 6.8, 7.4. Submit my answer, and there we go. All right, so let's go ahead and make this our last problem. This is a compound inequality. We have 1 is strictly less than -2z plus 3, which is strictly less than 11. And we want to solve that, once again, using interval notation. So let's go ahead and write this down. We have 1 is strictly less than -2z plus 3, which is strictly less than 11. Okay, once again, we want to use the addition property of equality to move the constant term out of the center. That involves subtracting 3 from the middle, and therefore subtracting 3 from the other two sides. All right, adding vertically, negative 1 minus 3 is negative, no, 1 minus 3 is negative 2. These cancel, so all I have is negative 2z. And then 11 minus 3 is 8. So it's going to be less than 8. All right. And now we need to use the multiplication property of equality. And to do that, we're going to divide this by negative 2 to get myself a coefficient of 1. So I need to divide by negative 2 here, I need to divide by negative 2 here. Now notice that since I'm dividing by a negative number, the direction of these need to change. So this needs to go or reverse. So this needs to go in this, needs to point to the right-hand side, as does this. Now notice 2 divided by negative 2, they cancel, and all I have is z. That's what I want. Negative 2 divided by negative 2, that is 1. And then finally, 8 divided by negative 2 is negative 4. Okay, now we could flip this around, but I'm not going to. Now notice that we want this in interval notation. In interval notation, we always start with the smaller number. The smaller number is negative 4. Even though this is kind of flipped around, this is the smaller number. So we start off with negative 4. Okay? Since I have a strict inequality associated with it, I have a parenthesis. Comma, the larger number is 1. Since I have a strict inequality associated with it, I have a parenthesis. And that is the answer in interval notation. Now notice that in this case, we have 2 parentheses. So we want to click on this. Then it's just negative 4, comma, 1. And that should be it. All right. And then finally, we need to graph that. Well, the best way to graph that, now that we have that in interval notation, is just to pay attention to what we have here. Since we have 2 parentheses, we click on 2 parentheses. The left-hand side is negative 4. Bring this down to negative 4. The right-hand side is 1. Bring that down to 1. There it is. Submit your answer, and there you go. And I believe you guys can handle the other 2 problems. So with that, that's all I have for this particular video. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. Make sure you practice this. The more you practice this, the more you get used to the interface, and you want to be used to the interface before you take the test. Taking the test is not the time to get used to the interface. Now is the time. So practice this now. That way you have this down before test time. And if you do have any questions, please feel free to contact me. I'm happy to practice with you. This is Bob Boyle, signing off.